to the Insider Hotline we go. Our insider from Daily Faceoff, Frank Saravalli, who I saw a screenshot of you on Halloween with the bloody nose and the wig. It's nightmare fuel. I have had a hard time getting it out of my head. I won't lie to you.
If you want real nightmare fuel, go to Jason Greger's Twitter page and see that. That is nightmare fuel.
Okay.
But if you want a funny story, so I had the bloody nose and all that going. I went to bed. I washed it off, but I guess I didn't do a good enough job. I had an early flight to Boston the next morning. No. My flight was at 6. I left the house at 4 something. I didn't even turn the light on in the bathroom. Quick brush my teeth, get out of there, run out the door, put a hat on. I get to my hotel in Boston. I look in the mirror. I looked like Heath Ledger playing the Joker. Like it was like still all over. I'm like, oh my God, these people on the flight probably thought I was an absolute jackal.
Well, you see a lot on the planes.
Oh dear.
You see a
lot. Get the jelly donut off your face, sir.
Right.
Right. We didn't need to see
you had remnants there.
No.
Nope.
Any hints?
What's that show where there's all those people in drag?
Oh, okay, yeah. Got it. We were just running through some of the things from the weekend. Ovechkin is on quite a little roll. Had a goal and 2 helpers on Saturday. Scored again yesterday. Needs 35 to pass Gretzky. 5 goals, 9 points in his last 4 games.
4-game heater.
This, if we watch the first couple games of last season and the first couple games of this season, I didn't think he was going to get on these kind of heaters anymore.
Well, it was until I think like December, January last year. It was stuck in single digits. It was looking really meager.
Doesn't it feel almost like the question? It's
not if, but when.
When it's going to happen? Can he get there this year? I don't think anyone's
really been the question. Like this guy will play until his legs fell off. Like he's getting the record. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
Next year's last year of his deal. Like it would be unreal if he did it this year, but he's coming back next year no matter what.
But that's the thing is I think we actually he's on pace for 52 goals this year.
That would be so unreal.
He has 7 and 11, and it took him 34 games last year to get to 7. Yeah. He's already there. I thought for certain after last season that this is a guy that it would span into the last year of his deal, this chase. He's on pace to end up north of 900 now, not only break the record, but be 10 past it right at this juncture of the season. I know it's still early, but 4 games in a row, like he looks good. He looks like reinvigorated. And I don't know. I still would love to know what happened on that vacation last year.
And you know, they look good. Like the Caps, we all saw as the frauds of last year's playoffs. Their goal differential was dog shirt. And it was like, okay, maybe Jersey takes their spot, whatever. But Spencer Carberry is doing some things there. And the GM made some interesting moves to add the guys like Chychrun and Mangiapane. Dubois for Kemper is a very, very curious swap. Like, what have you made of the Caps?
They're tied for their best start through 10 games in franchise history.
And we thought they were frauds, right? And they changed, but still.
Yeah, no, I had, and not tooting my horn, the changes that they made this summer, I had them as a firm playoff team.
Okay.
Here's the amazing part about the start to this year for the Caps. Matt Roy, who I believe was the best pure defender available in free agency, he's played 8 minutes and 39 seconds this year. He's been hurt.
Jeez.
They're about to get better, and Chychrun's banged up right now too. Again, that team's about to get better, not worse. They've defended like nobody's business. They've given up some of the fewest shots and shot attempts in the league. You mentioned Spencer Carberry. He's got them dialed in, and yet they've also found at the exact same time a way to get increased production from some of their younger guys who might have had a bit of a slow burn to get to this point. But Connor McMichael, he's blossoming into a 50-point player. Hendrix Lapierre has been a lot better. They're starting to grow at the same time that they found more support pieces, which is a pretty exciting turn of events when then you also have Alex Ovechkin at the same time turning back the clock.
Good.
Don't want to talk about Colorado every week, but it continues where Makar and McKinnon are on unbelievable tears. Makar has 21 points, McKinnon 20 in their 12-game point streaks. They've got just every game, but the team has lost 3 in a row. Their goalie let in 3 on 23. They have the league's worst or the highest goals against in no one's allowing more goals than they are. They're so leaky. Nichushkin is available to come back and start skating, I suppose. But
Doesn't help goaltending.
does he put? Yeah, can he put the pads on? It's got to be frustrating. We know how tightly wound Nate McKinnon is and the dedication he has to the craft. I just wonder what kind of appetite he has to. Not that there's anything he can do, but just in terms of him flipping out. We already saw him breaking sticks on the bench this year.
They're essentially a 3-man team. Like, I don't want to demean anyone else on that roster, but it's McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar, and that's it. Nichushkin will obviously help, but I mean, look at their roster. They had AHL call-ups playing second-line roles. They had Oliver Shillington playing forward. This was a team that entered this year with a ton of depth concerns based on Nichushkin and Landeskog, and then that limited their spending and ability to add in the offseason. Then you compound that with all the injuries that they had, and you take a thin team and you become paper thin. It's not a recipe for success, while also not addressing the goaltending issue that is quite obviously an issue. I think, unfortunately for the Avs, it's also probably not getting better anytime soon. Like, they have the ability here for this their season could be swirling down the drain the longer this hangs on. And I just don't see a path for it to get significantly better in the next month per se.
So Dean noted that Nichushkin today is cleared to come back and practice. He's not
Correct.
cleared to play. Walk us through timelines and what, I guess, hurdles have to be cleared for him to get back on the ice, because he is an excellent two-way forward. Like, he's sort of, in my mind, a Mark Stone, a winger that can really drive a line and play defense.
He's a horse. There's no doubt about it. He's on a 6-month suspension that ends on November 13th. So that's been without pay. He needs to be officially and formally cleared by the NHL and NHLPA player assistance program and doctors. Today was the next step in that process, which is rejoining the team to participate in practice. Still not getting paid, but is eligible for that suspension to end in 9 days. So when that does, I would think that between now and then, and maybe Rhett would be able to answer this better than me, even for a guy who has been out for a while, a summer of training and then skating on your own plus 9 days of practice, you're probably ready to just jump back right into the lineup.
I'd hope so. What else has he been doing? I mean,
well, don't answer that, because
that's part of the
that's what I
problem.
mean. You don't know what,
I
like,
hope that it's all.
I'd
after what
imagine
happened in
there's
Seattle.
been a lot of testing that's happening.
Yeah, and so is him being available to practice would lead you to believe that there aren't hurdles that he has to clear to get back in a game? If they've been testing him to get him essentially back to practice, correct?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, the details and the process are shrouded in secrecy,
Right.
and privacy, but I'd imagine, yes, that's part of it.
My question is if he's welcome back with open arms.
They say that he will be. Like, they've said all the right things.
They have to.
But so like, let's take a step back. Nathan McKinnon is so militant on what he puts in his body. Do you think he has a lot of time for recreational drugs or drug use by a teammate in the middle?
Not the second time in a row.
Tanking 2 different playoff runs?
Yeah.
I can't imagine there's a lot of love for that, but they also know they need him. Like, there's no, like, given what he's been through, I don't know that anyone's like beating down their door to trade for him either. So your other option is essentially, I guess at some point you could make a move to terminate him, but I don't know that really helps you that much either.
Tough spot. Well, and was it Jack Johnson or Eric Johnson with the comments after Val made his decisions? It wasn't just, Nate might not like it. Like, it felt like there was a few sour people in that leadership group there.
Well, you should be. Like, think about how hard you work and the time you put in, the dedication, the commitment to then look, all of our views and as a society as a whole has changed about addiction over the last 10 to 15 years, and rightfully so. But nonetheless, there are choices that players make and people make to affiliate yourself with various things and people. And it's a choice that you make at some point, especially when you've been through the program once already.
drama in Boston as well.
Yeah.
Montgomery is he's gonna be the first coach fired. He's shouting at his players on the bench, and then they start to win some games. Now they've got back-to-back shutout victories on the weekend. David Pasternak benched for the entire third period yesterday.
Really?
That's not a fourth liner. That's the coach digging in. Do you give credit to the coach here, or what do we know about what took place yesterday, if anything?
Well, we know that it came as a result of a couple turnovers that I think they viewed as egregious. And we also know that through Brad Marchand's words a couple weeks ago that this is a team that wants to be coached and pushed a little bit. They want some accountability. Brad Marchand said he's all for Jim Montgomery barking at him during the game. I think that's healthy. I think David Pasternak is a big boy. I think that was probably, in my view, a little heavy-handed. And the reason why I say that is just look up Highway 2. I mean, Leon Draisaitl a couple weeks ago, he was benched, but it was only for a couple shifts. These guys are so good. Do you really need to staple a guy to a bench for an entire period? Or does missing your rotation a couple times in a row, does that send the same message while also then, putting a little burr up your ass for the rest of the game?
Where do you fall in there?
I would think that you miss a couple shifts the first time. I don't know if Pasternak's had missed shifts before this year.
I don't think he did this season, to my knowledge, and certainly not in this game. Does that seem like a lot to you to be like, hey, we're coming
like a drastic jump to park your ass on this bench here for a whole period and watch.
There's other circumstances. Like we talked about it last night. They dropped Zeri down to the fourth line and elevated Kuzmenko. And it's like, look, if someone else is buzzing and it's like, let's ride the wave. Sure. But it's Pasternak we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's not like,
and so I want to take you back to the first period though, yesterday against the Kraken. If you watch the power play goal that Charlie Coyle scored, watch it again and you'll see there's 3 Kraken guys that are draped on Pasternak.
Yeah.
He's not showing up on that score sheet. He doesn't get any credit for that goal. But when 3 of the 4 killers are literally on top of you,
you know where the focal point is.
That counts for something.
Suspension for the penalty kill, Frank. Don't mention.
And there is that line. There's discipline. You haven't been whatever it is. Bad penalty. You haven't been working hard enough. Got to move your feet. Whatever it is. Then there's the embarrassment of sitting an entire period amongst your peers. The media are going to ask you about it. The fans see it. That's a statement for sure. Now, when
last year on this,
no one wants to be the grocery stick, but let alone for an entire period.
When I was kind of leading in there and I said there's some drama, you kind of you weren't too sure. What's your read on Boston? It's been a wild few years. They were the best team in the regular season and then lost, and I don't know where the Bruins are at right now.
I can tell you where they're at. After a scuffling start to the season, they're 1 point away from second place in the Atlantic Division. That's why I went,
Yeah.
Because this is going to be the nature of this division the entire year. Some team's going to lose 3 straight, and I don't care who it is, but it's so tightly packed, and it will be tightly packed all year. I think, made this prediction at the start of the year, all 8 teams in the division at least 80 points. That's not going to leave a lot of wiggle room for fluctuations in the standings. You're talking about a 3-game losing streak and you might be in 7th or 8th place. You're going to see freakouts in every market at varying points this year because of that. And that was Boston's turn.
And we saw Toronto last weekend. Yeah.
Now the attention's going to shift to Buffalo because they're off to their worst start in however long, for a while, which for them is still something.
Jeez. And we see the Habs tomorrow. The Flames will be in Montreal. This was supposed to be we're going to take a step forward year. And there's still a lot of question marks about a lot of the guys. Like Kirby Dach has not turned into probably what they'd hoped to yet. The young decor is very young and,
very green.
-3 and 4s. And they don't look close at all to being a playoff team right now.
No, and they're not because they don't defend well enough. Sam Montembeault, it's his numbers are a crime against humanity. I mean, if you look at them, they should be so much better based on how well he played as a netminder for a team that just gives up so much, so many chances, so many quality chances and looks that they're getting filleted on a night-to-night basis, and that's unfair. This team drastically needs to improve structurally and just pure on paper roster-wise. They've got holes on the back end, and the tough part for them is, you've got young guys on the way that you believe in. You're starting to see it from Lane Hudson, and David Reinbacher's hurt to start the year. He was supposed to be a guy that would be in that mix. And then Logan Mayu is back in Laval, and they're dealing with that. Look, they think that they have the pieces for next year and the year after and beyond, but it's about getting through this year and supposed to being able to take a step forward this year that they're just not able to do.
In Montreal, it doesn't matter what you do. There's going to be heat and pressure on the coach, and they're irrational in that. But is there a chance where Marty St. Louis is in trouble there?
Zero.
Or is, yeah.
I can just tell you from talking to people in Montreal, they are in lockstep with Marty St. Louis. And I also happen to think he's one of the best coaches in the game right now.
So why is their D zone a mess? Why don't they defend better? Is that just personnel? No coaches?
Yeah, all personnel.
Okay. Yeah.
The way he's able to get through to those guys, I think, is so incredibly impressive. I don't know that there's that many more sharp hockey minds in the league than Marty St. Louis that are behind a bench.
And to be fair, he went from coaching 14-year-olds to the NHL, and they improved. Like, that's
I don't care who you are. You have a Hall of Fame brain like he does and skill set. People snap to attention, but more than that, he's just got this way to communicate his passion for it. There's no bullshit either. Like, he says it like it is, and you can't bullshit him.
Is it Rod the Bod vibes for you?
I would say yes, but on a different level. Like, and I don't want to get into the Rod Brind'Amour Hall of Fame debate, but I think with what Marty was able to accomplish, it has even more gravitas.
Sure.
Yeah. Because wasn't it when Marty went in there, Caulfield, his numbers just spiked almost immediately.
Sure, okay.
After he got, I'm a little guy. I can
Coach says I can be a star.
Scoring. You mentioned Rod the Bod, Carolina, 6 straight. Natchez has 15 points in a 6-game streak.
Jeez.
Kochetkov has taken over. He's won 4 straight, 8 wins, second most in franchise history through its first 10 games. So they too are rolling. We saw them last week, and I don't know that they looked like massive world beaters, but they won handily.
It was Carolina.
Yeah.
They had the puck most of the night.
And then you go through their trip out west, they went 5-1.
Yeah, they cruised.
Yeah.
I
OT
mean,
against Edmonton. Yeah.
Maybe not world beaters. And I think that's actually probably funny you said that. Maybe just the best way to describe them in general. I thought for sure that they'd be on track for a downturn this year. Just look at the pieces that they subtracted.
Right.
Brett Pesce, Brady Shea. Up front, they lost Jake Gensel. And you're thinking, how is this team possibly going to get to the same level they were at last year? And yet the decisions that they made to replace those guys, ask the Flyers how much they missed Sean Walker. They needed a guy to come in and run their power play. Hey, Shane Goss is here. He was here for a stint. Let's bring him back. We're comfortable with him. He steps back into an environment that he's comfortable in. All of a sudden, Marty Natchez, they almost traded that guy to Buffalo. They had a deal done. He said, I'm not signing with the Sabres. I mean, the deal was done.
Yeah. What is it, 6.5 for times 2?
No, he said, I don't even think they got to talking about numbers.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, it's current.
His deal in Carolina. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, look at all these. There's a bunch of guys that are off to great starts this year that could have been playing somewhere else. Nick Ehlers, Winnipeg, Philip Gustafson, Minnesota. These guys were all on my trade targets board last summer, and the Canes were almost like he was out the door. He was literally out the door. They had a deal completed in principle with the Buffalo Sabres. Now he's got 5 goals and 10 assists in his last 6 games.
There's a lot of people that love Buffalo.
He'd look great in Buffalo, man. He'd help.
Use him in Buffalo.
Well, and that's the tough part about Buffalo. So now what do the Sabres do? I don't think Kevin Adams can get through these next 2 weeks if they're playing like they are and not make a massive deal.
So they're one of the youngest 2 teams in the league, I believe. Like, that's part of it. It's like, yes, they're supposed to be coming out of this, but it really is like the third iteration of a rebuild.
I have not. Have you watched them play? I haven't watched it. Lindy Ruff goes in. They make minor changes. They're expecting to get better just based on their youthfulness. Last year, from the second half, January 1st on, Ukapuka was really good, but
Now
Goalies.
Devin Levi's been really good too.
has he?
Yeah.
So what's the issue in Buffalo?
They can't. It's
All of it?
they can't defend.
Yeah.
That's
That's what
what-
last year.
I didn't get that with Lindy Ruff hire. I really didn't, because on the old show, whether it was Sarich or Gear, somebody said like, "Oh my gosh, like D-zone's a mess with him." Like, and then he goes there, and you're like, "Ooh, that's not a fit." That's exactly what they need, is someone who's very good defensively. Maybe those words were too strong, and he's adapted. But it was a few years ago, and they were like,
It
"No,
was
no,
Regier
sloppy
because he
D-zone."
played for him. So
Yeah.
Sarich didn't.
Right.
But it would feel like there's some good young talent there.
Well, there's
Obviously,
two
Dahlin
first
and Power, they
overall.
brought
There's
in.
two first overall picks that
On the blue line.
are on the blue line.
So if I dropped a video into the chat, how long would it take our producers to?
Well, it was his birthday on the weekend. so
Yeah,
he's
he was,
ripped.
I just sent a clip. I don't know if you can how quickly you could pull that in. It's just from Twitter. But I think if we had a second to do it, this clip to me is the Buffalo Sabres in an absolute nutshell. It's a 15-second clip, and it only got notoriety because of the play that Alexander Barkov made on it. But I don't know how you can defend this way.
Well,
So-
they couldn't defend last year. I remember going to games and sitting with guys and talk. Jay McKee, who coaches out in the O, and he's like, we were sitting together and we were literally like, what in the F are they doing? Like, I don't understand it. Like, I couldn't grasp either the players aren't listening or they're not being told anything that's right.
So
Either way, it was terrible.
So you'd have some perspective on the Lindy Ruff decision, though. Like, to me, that felt like the owner telling the GM, "This is who you're hiring." Maybe they're in lockstep because Kevin Adams was an assistant coach on Lindy Ruff's staff. But I look at it and I say, how do you watch the New Jersey Devils as sloppy as they played last season and say, that's it, we got our guy, we have tunnel vision, and we aren't even going to interview anyone else?
Indy's the
How's that
next
possible?
GM. He's the next GM.
That's
I think it was the owner saying, here's your guy.
Here's this clip. Just watch this. It's 15 seconds.
Played over 100 games.
This is an unbelievable play by Barkov. But if you could go back and play it one more time. Why is your $11 million defenseman chasing behind the net to a guy that's already covered by your quote unquote top defensive defenseman? Tell me what is Rasmus Dahlin doing here going behind the net?
Frank, if you go back over the last 3 years and watch the Buffalo Sabres play, you will see 7 of those a game. And that's not just Dahlin. I'm talking about a guy wide open. We saw Draisaitl score here at the start of the game on last night. There are multiple times in every game the Sabres play where there's a guy wide open in the slot.
And I am so impressed by Barkov. Like, as soon as he notices Dahlin sneak behind the net, boom.
Yes.
yeah.
It's the intelligence is like off the charts. He looked, it was a shoulder check, boom, right in front of the net. But I don't understand the thought process
There
from
isn't.
their defenseman. Again, Samuelson is your best, your quote unquote top defensive defenseman. He doesn't need any help.
Regardless of who it is. It's hockey 101. You don't leave the slot open. You got this guy's got a guy draped. You've got a guy on Barkov.
Yeah.
Like, where are you
I-
going?
so I'm
can't leave
always
the front.
asking for intel, and you know me, I'm always canvassing around the league. I had 2 different GMs send me that clip last week, and with the comment, it just said summer hockey.
Jeez. They're so not back.
Frank, I know you got to get out of here. You're up against it. We appreciate you. Have a fine week. We'll do it again on Monday.
See you guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.